Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Clarity in the Chaos as we attempt to bring some vertical clarity in the midst of the horizontal chaos. We're in Proverbs chapter 12 today, and there we continue to find in this book of wisdom insight and clarity on how to have a perspective on our world and on our God and on our life that leads to life. So chapter 12 continues to give us this contrast between those who trust in God and those who trust in themselves, those who go the pursuit of their own ways and their own pleasure, and what that leads to, and contrast to those who seek God, who find life in Him. So as we get to verse 25 today, we find real clarity for our day, for where we live. It says in verse 25, anxiety is in the heart of a man, or anxiety in the heart of a man causes depression, but a good word makes it glad. The word here for anxiety is a word for heaviness, something that is a weight to us, something that causes fear, something that causes sorrow. And that is often determined by the words we hear and the thoughts that we allow to remain. Those produce an effect in us. Heaviness, as this verse says, or anxiety in the heart, there in the center, what we allow in, what we allow to remain, what we allow to be the conversation that we have in our heart, causes something. It causes our heart to, in the King James, it says stoop, but it's a word here for depression, to be weighed down, to be bent over, to be without perspective on a future that is good, to see everything from a negative light, to think there is no hope, to be disturbed inside. And so anxiety, fear leads to a place of being depressed. And in our day, as we hear headlines and news and stories, as we hear thoughts in our own minds about what is happening in our world, it's important that we not stay too long on the negative, that we not allow those thoughts to have control. And I know this process very well. I recognize it. I know the path I can go down if I allow myself to think on heavy subjects, to think on kind of dead-end scenarios, worst-case scenarios. And whereas there is a need to have a truthful look at life, and not fairy tale, not fantasy, an honest look at life, as this verse says, we take what produces fear and we allow it to drive us to a place of faith. Anxiety in the heart of a man causes depression, but a good word makes it glad. So in all your news getting today, in all your thoughts that are churning in your mind and in your heart, make sure there's some good news there. Look for what is going to produce peace. Look for what's going to give some joy. Look for what's going to produce some thankfulness in you, and get that word. Say that word. See that word. It will produce the opposite in you. So shut out the sources that produce only fear and anxiety and depression for you. Find good sources. Find life. Challenge your mind to operate, to look for what is good. Look for where God is. Look for what He's stirring in you. Look for what He has done for you through the cross, through the resurrection, through your life, the history of His faithfulness. As you do, it will change you. It will take you from a heart that is filled with sorrow, bent over, depressed, and it will transform you to a heart that is glad, that is at peace, that is at rest. This is the hope we have as believers, and this will give us clarity in the midst of the chaos.